Today on Commander Replay, can Yahenni Undying Partisan go Cape Beckinsale on Thrasios Ikra, Saskia the Unyielding, and Kambal Console of Allocation and preserve the vampire bloodline? Find out next on Commander Replay. Hey guys, welcome back to Commander Replay. Today, we're going to take a look at Yahenni Undying Partisan. I just finished whittling this deck list down to 100 cards, and I'm super excited to take it out for a spin. The first Commander deck I ever built was Shieldred, and I've always just loved playing Mono Black. Mono Black was also one of the very first decks that I played when I started playing Magic, around Revised Ice Age era. At that point in time, if you ask me, Lord of the Pit and Minion of Leshrac were the two best cards in Magic. The times have changed a little bit, but those two cards still have a soft spot in my heart. Like many Commander decks, I had to make a lot of tough choices of which cards to cut for this deck. This is another deck where you could easily build a 200 card deck because there are so many black cards that care about sacrificing creatures and killing your opponent's creatures. So I made some super hard decisions. I actually cut Grave Titan. I don't know if I've ever cut Grave Titan from a black deck that I've played in Commander, ever. That's how you know how tight this deck list is. We'll take a quick look at a couple key cards in this deck. I have this huge recursion package with Blood-Soaked Champion, Bloodghast, Nether Traitor, and Reassembling Skeleton. So all of these creatures are good sacrifice fodder and can set up a lot of things that we can do later in the game, such as give Yahenni indestructible until end of turn, or use Mind Slash, Attrition, or Skull Clamp. Some of the other things we'll be taking advantage of in this deck, we'll have the Grave Pact and the Dictate of Erebos triggers whenever we sacrifice a creature, so we should be able to take down most of our opponent's threats. And most of the other cards in this deck all say destroy all creatures in some way, shape, or form. So this deck basically does two things. It sacrifices creatures and kills our opponent's creatures, and hopefully that's going to make a really big Yahenni for us, and Yahenni will just get in and beat people upside the head. At the very top end of our deck, you'll see a Decree of Pain, another destroy all creatures, draws a lot of cards. Rise of the Dark Realms, this is an alternate win condition for us. Diabolic Revelation to tutor a whole bunch of cards, but otherwise we'll mostly be on the make Yahenni really big and beat down plan. Alright, so here we are, very first game with Yahenni Undying Partisan. We won the die roll, and we will play first. Opening hand, we have 3 lands, a Demonic Tutor, a Spell Bomb, a Diabolic Revelation, and a Solemn Simulacrum. We will go ahead and keep that hand. So here's Yahenni Undying Partisan. Yahenni is a 3-mana, 2/2 with haste. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Yahenni, and Yahenni's other ability is sacrifice a creature, and Yahenni gains indestructible until end of turn. Let's take a quick look at who we're facing today. We have Ikra Shadiki the Usurper, partnered with Thrasios Triton Hero. We have Saskia the Unyielding, who we've played a bunch of times on the channel before, and Kambal Console of Allocation. So our turn 1, we will play a Swamp. I'm going to hold on to the Spell Bomb for now. I don't really want to show that we have it yet. Kind of use it as more of a surprise play later on. It's more likely to get hit by artifact removal, so I'll just tap out. Training Grounds for the Ikra Thrasios opponent. Smoldering Marsh for Saskia, and a Swamp for Kambal. So back to our turn, turn 2. Play a Swamp. Demonic Tutor. So yeah, very first time with this deck. I'm not exactly sure what I want to go for right here. Buried Alive seems like, I don't know if I want Mana Ramp or if I want like a Buried Alive to get all of our recursive creatures so we can get our sacrifice engine going. So I figure the best thing to do is just hold the Demonic Tutor until the picture becomes a little bit clearer. So we'll just pass the turn. I do like to have a tutor late in the game. I don't always like to burn them early. It is nice to have a silver bullet when the board gets really out of control and there's something that you absolutely need to get rid of. So Thrasios, Triton Hero, coming into play. With Training Grounds out, the Thrasios ability is only going to cost 2 to activate. That's pretty legit. So Saskia plays a Sylvan Library, and Kambal plays Shadows of the Past. Whenever a creature dies, scry 1, and pay 5, each opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. Activate this ability only if there are 4 or more creatures in your graveyard. Ooh, I should run that card in this deck. Let's call that a deck building error. I don't exactly know what the Kambal deck is trying to do, but seems really good. Right now, we will just play our commander, play a Swamp, play Yahenni. Vampire! Yahenni into play. I love haste commanders so much. Who to pick a fight with? I'm going to give Saskia a little poke, simply because they have this Sylvan Library out, and they'll probably take some damage off the Sylvan Library, so if we get in some early pokes, their life total can get low very quickly if they decide to draw a lot with the Sylvan Library. So Thrasios pays 2 to use the Scry ability. Hasn't played a land yet. Looks like they might be looking for a land. So plays another land, and Thrasios gets in at the Kambal opponent. Saskia's turn. Sylvan Library trigger goes on the stack. Bloodstained Mire for the Saskia opponent fetches out a Taiga. Alicia, who smiles at death, for the Saskia opponent. So I wonder if they're playing like a small creature engine kind of deck. Kambal, Console of Allocation, coming into play. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, that player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. We will start by playing a swamp. So I'm going to play the Solemn Simulacrum. We get our land trigger. What to do this turn? So the Kambal opponent should make everyone else's life totals get low pretty quickly. We'll go in for a poke at the Thrasios Ikra opponent, since they're tapped out. I could try to force into the Saskia opponent and sacrifice the Solemn Simulacrum, but I doubt that they would block anyway. That, and I don't really want to double up on the Saskia opponent. Right now, I'm just trying to spread out a little bit of early damage and not really make enemies yet. Unfortunately, with Yahenni, you lose the ability to F8 and auto-pass until your turn, because if you have another creature out, you're going to need to leave up the ability to give Indestructible. So Sylvan Library trigger goes on the stack, and Thrasios uses his Scry ability. So a land for Saskia opponent, and Perforos, God of the Forge, coming down. Alicia, who smiles at death, is going to come in at us. We're just going to take the damage. I could block and sacrifice here, but I really want to keep up the Indestructible ability for later on. So yeah, with Perforos and Kambal in play, people's life totals should start to drop pretty quickly. We are going to want to find lifelink ASAP. Luckily, we still have our tutor to do it. Actually, we have 2 tutors. Diabolic Revelation can get us multiple cards. Ooh, attrition. Nice. So with our reassembling skeleton, we can pay a bit of mana and just kill everything on the battlefield pretty repetitively. Don't know if I want to show that off just yet. Still a lot of cards in our opponent's hands. I'm not really looking to pick a fight right now. As much as I do like being aggressive, I'm going to run our reassembling skeleton out there. Yeah, I guess I'll play the attrition right here. Man, I really don't want to leave 4 untapped mana. I know. We'll use the Demonic Tutor right here. We're going to get pinged off the Kambal. We're going to lose 2 life. They're going to gain 2 life. And we're going to go for Cabal Coffers. Actually, we're in a decent position. Oh, man. Yeah, I could swing back at the Saskia player. But again, I'm really just not looking to pick a fight with them. If they name us with Saskia, our life total will get low really quick. So I'm just going to hang back on defense for now. Next turn, we can use the Kambal Coffers. We should be able to get quite a few cards off the Diabolic Revelation. I felt like on our previous turn, if we just ran the attrition out there, that would make us the biggest threat on the board, and everyone would just come after us. So that's what I'm trying to avoid. So Thrasios scrying. Sensei is Divining Top. Thrasios gets pinged by Kambal. Uses Divining Top. Rearranges the top of the library. Opponents have sent some messages to each other and have figured out that if I get Grave Pact online, I can wipe the board whenever I want. So I think opponents are probably going to start to focus me down quite a bit. We'll need to be careful of that. Anger for the Saskia opponent. We all get pinged by Perforos. Down to 33. So yeah, I am having to F2 a lot with this deck, just to pass through each trigger on the stack. We can't just auto-pass. F8 doesn't work, and if we F6, we won't be able to respond in order to give Yahenni Indestructible if we need to. This is one of those commanders that may work out better in paper than it does on Magic Online for that reason. So back to our turn. We draw a Lash Writhe. That's a good draw. We have 6 swamps in play currently. We could pump up Yahenni quite a bit. All depends on who we want to hit. Kambal passes with no real plays. They have 5 mana open, so that makes me a little bit worried. I'm not exactly sure what they have. Man, I'm really not excited to go. So Ikra and Thrasios has a bunch of life gain. He's got 7 cards in hand. That's not awesome either. I'm not sure if we just go like full aggro and blow up everyone's creatures and just try to reinforce that position, or if we try to hang back for a little while. I say we go for it. So drop down the Kambal Coffers, tap the Coffers, get 6 mana, play Attrition. We lose 2 life off the Kambal. Ooh. So if we blow up the Thrasios, we won't get the +1/+1 counter off of Yahenni because it would not constitute death. Although I may blow up the Thrasios anyway. We'll see. Maybe I can kind of do like a friendly play here. I'll blow up the anger for Saskia. Yeah, let's do that. Blow up the anger for Saskia. That'll give us the trigger, and that'll hopefully not make Saskia hate us too much, since they get their anger in the graveyard and all their other creatures get haste. So Shadows of the Past triggers. Kambal gets the Scry. Kambal gets the Scry again off the anger dying. And we get a +1/+1 counter on Yahenni. We've still got 2 floating mana. I'm just going to use it to bring back the reassembling skeleton. Right now I'm trying to keep plays open because I don't know exactly what's going to go down on the next turn. We will swing into the Thrasios Ikra opponent. Actually, Kambal's at the highest life total, so I'm going to swing at Kambal. Kambal's also going to be able to gain a ton of life, so we're trying to whittle away at their life total and get some commander damage on them. Seems like a solid play. I'm leaving the mana open and not playing Lash Writhe right there so that I can use the attrition and be able to get the reassembling skeleton back. Ikra Shadiki, the Usurper, coming into play. Ikra and Thrasios seems like sort of an odd pairing. I'm not exactly sure what this deck is trying to go for. I know that bug colors are usually very good, but these two creatures themselves don't seem to have a lot in common with each other, so I'm not entirely sure what the plan is. Ikra usually wants you to play a lot of bigger creatures, or at least high toughness creatures. Thrasios is kind of a value engine. Maybe their plan is just big creatures. I don't know if there's some other tricks that they have. We'll find out. Oh god. So Vigor for the Saskia opponent. That's going to have haste. Perforos trigger goes on the stack, so more life loss for all of us. Luckily we have the attrition out, so we can kill the Vigor pretty easily. Well, so I told the opponent if they attacked elsewhere, I'd let them keep his creatures, but since they want to come in at us, we're going to have to blow some stuff up. First things first, getting rid of this Vigor. So pay 1. I'm going to sacrifice the Solemn Simulacrum right here. I want the card draw. Whole bunch of triggers go on the stack. We get card draw from Solemn Simulacrum, Shadows Pass to Scry. We get our attrition trigger, and we have the Alicia Who Smiles at Death combat trigger. So we draw another swamp. Yahenni gets another counter. Vigor shuffle trigger goes on the stack. Vigor will shuffle back into the library. Oh man, I'm down to 12 minutes already with this. So I'm going to have to win quickly and be very diligent about my time management. So we take 3 off of the Alicia, and that was purely due to misclick. I had intended to blow it up. I will do it end step of Kambal's turn. Actually, I'm going to do it right now. So a bunch of triggers go on the stack. I'm going to have to auto some of these triggers. Auto our Yahenni trigger. I'm going to pay to get the reassembling skeleton back. And opponent gets our Yahenni with a Hero's Downfall. Blah. Dusted! Well, we can recast them next turn. At least we can F6 now. And opponent has a Bloodchief Ascension coming into play. I think it's safe to say that most of the board has ganged up on us. So we are really going to have to fight and claw our way out of this one. Lifelink would be very good, but also we need to be very diligent about time management. Kambal going at the Saskia opponent. It's good news for us. And Bloodchief Ascension trigger goes on the stack. One thing with this particular build of Yahenni is that I have this deck set up to be very good against creature-based decks. It looks like everyone's kind of somewhat on the creature plan. I'm not exactly sure what Kambal's up to. He's got a few enchantments out, so possibly some enchantment trickery there, but at least there are a handful of creatures on the board. If we were facing all Pillow Fort control kind of decks, this version of Yahenni probably wouldn't be great because 30% of the cards in this deck care about killing our opponent's creatures. So Thran Dynamo, good card. We will play our Swamp. We will tap the coffers, get 7 mana, play our Thran Dynamo, get hit by the Kambal trigger, recast our Yahenni. Fortunately, we lost all the counters on Yahenni. It's not the best. Vampire. I think right here, I'm just going to go into Saskia for a whole bunch. They've been pretty aggressive toward us. I don't really foresee that stopping anytime soon. So we get a living weapon. I'm just going to equip this. Crap. I accidentally F6 through our turn. Or F6, I passed our combat step. So light poke into the actually on attack. Since we're only going to hit for a little bit, I'm going to go in at the Kambal opponent because they still have the highest life total. Hit F2 just a little bit too quickly. Bloodchief Ascension trigger on the stack. That's actually a problem. That's something that there are 2 counters on Bloodchief Ascension. Becomes active at 3. And that will also make life totals get low very quickly. We are down to 22 already. So as long as Yahenni stays in play, next turn I'm definitely going to go for one of our lifelinking cards. Thran Dynamo for the Ikra Thrasios opponent. So I've never really used the F2 key all that much before. Now it's the 2 button. But definitely having some issues with it in this particular game. Trying to get through all of our triggers very quickly since we're down to 11 minutes already. So Ikra and Thrasios going at the Kambal opponent. And Ikra Thrasios is back up to 40 life. So Bloodchief Ascension trigger. Bloodchief Ascension is now active. So if we start doing a lot of sack shenanigans, we're going to lose a lot of life, so we definitely need to get some life gain going. Kambal seems to be on the incidental life loss kind of plan, and with Perforos out there, there's going to be even more damage flying around. Siege Rhino for our opponent, and a Perforos trigger. Oh yeah, we're definitely going for the lifelink stuff next turn. Any sort of board sweep with this Bloodchief Ascension action active is going to be really bad for us. Thrasios is the only current legal target for attrition, so we draw another swamp. Play the swamp. It is time to fire off the Diabolic Revelation. How much mana do we have? That's 4. That's 7. We have 8. So I'm going to go X3 on this Diabolic Revelation. That'll leave us with 6, 9 mana. No, that's still not going to be enough. I know what we can do. We can go... All right, we'll just get the... We'll focus on the lifelink this turn and worry about the Sword of Feast and Famine on the next turn. So X7 on this Diabolic Revelation. Getting hit with another Kambal trigger. Kind of wish I held on to the swamp just so I could drop down a Reliquary Tower, but what can you do? So we are going to get Ashnod's Altar, Sword of Feast and Famine. Oh, we can get a Sol Ring too. We'll get a Mana Crypt, Luxodon Warhammer, Skull Clamp, Whip of Erebos, and a Promise of Power. And we'll get the Oblivion Stone so we can take down the Bloodchief Ascension when we have to. So Bloodchief Ascension is going to get us down to 7 minutes. Drop our Mana Crypt, play our Warhammer, get hit by Kambal again. So equip our Warhammer, equip the Lash Writhe, Shadows of the Past trigger, move to combat. I'm going to go after Kambal. Hopefully we don't get blown out with a kill spell, Swords of Plowshares, something like that. Although I guess that would give us some life back. So he's got something. Uh-oh. Utter End, exile target permanent.
Dusted!
Well, that's not good. So that might be it for us. Yeah, I knew attacking into that open mana could be really problematic. We're going to F6. I assume that we die to something. There's a lot of incidental life loss on the board. Ugh, so our Yahenni's down again, and we're tapped out. There are so many ways for us to die in the next turn. Man, I wish I went at one of our other opponents. Saskia seemed like a free roll, but I really did want to get the damage in against the Bloodchief Ascension. Silence the Believers, huh? Exile any number of target creatures and all auras attached to them. That's going to get us pretty good. On the other hand, it takes down our opponent's Siege Rhino, and the Kambal is now out of play. Let's see what the Ikra Thrasios opponent decides to do here. They're swinging at Kambal. Nice. Unfortunately, that play earlier where I put Anger in our graveyard for Saskia may come back to haunt us. They just have to play any creature, and we probably die. Phyrexian Arena for the Thrasios Ikra opponent. Wow, Saskia passes the turn? I mean, Saskia could have easily just played their commander and killed us. It seems that maybe everyone is a little bit scared of Kambal right now. Kambal is the highest life total at 45. Thrasios is at 35, and Saskia is at 28. We are at a lowly 7. How it got this low, I'm not even entirely sure. I think that Kambal got us pretty good with a number of triggers. Perforos got us a couple times. But man, every point is adding up. We also have to make sure that we win the flip on this Mana Crypt if we just want to stay in this game. Avatar of Woe for the Kambal opponent. So that's good news. We might have a chance to actually stay in this game. We don't have protection for Yahenni. We won't have anything to sacrifice. Hopefully we can get like a really lucky draw. Ooh, Mana Drain for the Ikra Shadiki opponent. And Court of Calling for the Saskia opponent. Okay, that makes more sense. Saskia opponent was playing around a counterspell off of the Thrasios opponent. That Mana Drain is going to give Ikra and Thrasios all of the mana. Although we are in a very good position now where everyone is tapped out. Oh, so Court of Calling finds Xenagos, God of Revels. That makes most creatures lethal to us. So that's a problem. Everyone is still tapped out, so we can at least fight and claw in this game for a little while. Mana Crypt on the stack. We'll choose Tails. We lost the flip. Awesome. We draw a swamp. Play the swamp. Tap coffers. Play our commander. Yahenni comes into play.
Vampire.
Equip everything up. We forgot to draw to pick up the Sword of Feast and Famine, so that's kind of a big deal. We will go to combat, hit the Kambal opponent for 14. This will get us some much needed life. So we're back up to 18. Okay, we have enough mana, so I'm gonna throw down this Oblivion Stone. That way if anyone tries to attack us with anything or something crazy happens, we can blow up the Oblivion Stone in response. This is gonna mean a lot more F2ing. So Mana Drain, they're gonna get all of the mana. 8 mana added to their mana pool. But yeah, we're back up to 18 life, and we put 19 commander on the Kambal opponent. So Thrasios using his mana to scry a whole bunch of times. Gets a land out of the deal. Scries again. Man, with 8 cards in their hand and scrying is the best thing that he's going to do, that seems crazy to me. Unless their hand is like entirely full of lands, but 9 cards now? So Thrasios going at the Saskia opponent. It's fine by us. Auto this trigger. Man, down to 5 minutes. We're going to have to kill people quickly. Garrick Apex Predator for the Thrasios opponent. It's going to make a 3-3 with Death Touch. And a Sylvan Advocate. Blood Chief Ascension. Jorga Tree Speaker. Perforos triggers. And Saskia coming into play. I have a sinking feel. Let's see who they choose. Perforos triggers. So Thrasios, that is pretty surprising. I thought for sure they would come after us. Oh boy. So Xenagos is now an active creature. Let's see where he decides to point that. So somehow no one's coming at us. So we'll just let everything go. So a whole bunch of Saskia triggers go on the stack. Gonna F6 this point in the turn. Hopefully the F6 does not come to bite us. Just under 5 minutes remaining on our clock. Wound Reflection for the Kambal opponent. Kambal opponent down to 2 mana. We're gonna put a counter. Put the counter on our Luxodon Warhammer. Seems most important right now. Mana Crypt going on the stack. We will choose Tails, and we lost the flip again. We draw another Swamp. Play the Swamp. Yahenni gets bigger. So I'm just going to swing into the Kambal opponent. Hopefully this will take them down. We'll figure out the rest of our turn after. Boom, some Kambal goes down. So main phase 2, running short on time. We're going to Promise of Power. We're going to Entwine. Hopefully we can draw into some good cards. Also, the lifelink put us back up to 26 life. Now down to 21 off of the Promise of Power. We're going to Buried Alive, find our recursive creatures. We're going to get a Bloodghast, Blood-Soaked Champion, and another Trader. Play our Skull Clamp. Play our Ashnod's Altar. Man, if we had more time, we'd be able to fight and claw our way through this game, I think, but there's a good chance that we're just going to run out of time. Garrick's making another 3-3 beast with that touch. So Oblivion Stone does hit Planeswalkers of note. So, Seasons Past. That's going to give the Thrasios opponent a ton of cards back. Mana Drain, Silence the Believers. I didn't quite catch all the other ones, but they have some stuff. So the Saskia opponent scoops. So it's just us. It's just Thrasios, Ikra versus Yahenni.
We're going fang to fang. I mean head to head.
So turn off all auto yields. All the attackers coming in at us. We're going to pop the Oblivion Stone. First make Yahenni indestructible. So sacrifice our demon, then blow up the stone. Vampiric Tutor for our opponent. They still have that exile spell. So that's something we'll have to be careful of. Opponent also has a mana drain in their hand, so that's something we'll also need to be careful of. It'll make it very tough for us to recast anything. Oh, and a Void Slime. Opponent Void Slimes us, so that might be game. See how much damage we take. Well, we're still at 10. Opponent's going to gain a whole bunch of life. They have enough mana for mana drain, so we're not just dead. Try Tails again, finally win a flip, down to 10 life, a Strip Mine. So play our Urborg, we'll get back our Bloodghast into play. We're going to put the Skull Clamp on Bloodghast. See if we can draw into some better cards. So get another Trader. Nope, nothing there. Sacrifice the Nether Trader. Drew a bunch of lands. More lands! That's not great. Wow, we drew a lot of lands right there. I mean, almost anything would be more helpful than that. So, I guess we just swing into our opponent. So I'm going to Silence the Believers, exile any number of target creatures and auras attached to them.
Dusted.
So that's game. Opponent's got us. So I forgot about that. There's no real way to play around that. We really needed to draw some cards. We needed to draw something other than lands. Look how many lands we peeled. That's insane. So just telling our opponent how many lands we drew. And then I said good game. We'll let them finish it out. We will Skull Clamp this Blood-Soaked Raider just to see if we draw anything else. Another Trader coming back. So this is what the deck is supposed to do. Unfortunately, we're doing it just a little bit too late. There's a Massacre Worm. Well, that's not doing too much for us. We'll just keep doing stuff until... And we timed out, but our opponent had us anyway. They were going to kill us. We were at 10 life. So game number 1 with Yahenni. Things got a little rocky. We lost a lot of life to the Kambal opponent. And then when we tried to attack into the Kambal opponent, we lost our Yahenni when he played Utter End. And that really set us back because we really needed that life gain. And also getting that damage in right there would have set us up pretty good. Probably should have went after the Saskia opponent on that turn because they only had 2 lands open. They were really low on cards, so it didn't seem like they really had anything to stop our attacker. And we could have got the damage in, gained a bunch of life. And then we were kind of on our back foot. It started getting pretty expensive to recast Yahenni. For parts later on there, we didn't have creatures to sacrifice because our reassembling skeleton got exiled. So what are the takeaways with Yahenni? I found the deck to be fun. I didn't get to do quite as much as I wanted to. We were just starting to get into the turns where we could really do some interesting things with all of our graveyard creatures. With all the creatures that we had in our graveyard right there, with the Nether Trader, and the Blood Gas and all of that, we could draw through a significant part of our deck, which we did, except that we caught all lands while doing so. You'll notice that we're down to 55 cards in our library, so we did see quite a few cards this game. But one thing to consider is that you can't F8 with Yahenni, and you can't even F6 with Yahenni, unless you're confident that you don't need to sacrifice a creature in response, or you don't have a creature to sacrifice in response. So it does eat up a lot of the clock. We were a couple turns through the game, and I noticed that we had already lost half of our time. We were down to like 10 or 11 minutes. And so then I had her play really frantically through the end part of the game. So I definitely missed a few plays. I wanted to get the Skull Clamp down a little sooner, the Ashnod's Altar, all that sort of stuff. Definitely little things that happened that had I started a longer game, I would have been able to play more solid lines. So it seems in this case that Yahenni would be much better in paper, where you don't have to constantly click F2 every time you want to pass a trigger. So that is one of the unfortunate drawbacks to playing Yahenni on Magic Online. Let me know what you guys think of Yahenni. Let me know what your favorite vampire movie or show is. And of course, if you like this video, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching. Dusted!